Hey everyone, this is Derrick Broze with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we're going to tell you why Donald Trump does not care about the U.S. military, the soldiers, or you at all. First though, I want to remind you guys to bookmark theconsciousresistance.com to get our latest content, all of our interviews, our news reports, our documentaries, etc. And you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter right here to make sure you get that directly to your inbox. And I want to remind you guys to support the Fairies Pajamas. You can find them at thefairies.pajamas.com or right here on Instagram. You can see this picture of me. This was at Envision Festival wearing what they call the hexagon holster. Really cool. Thank you to them for supporting me, and if you would like, support them. Let's get into it now. Despite the fact that Donald Trump over the last couple years has passed the largest military budgets ever, and with his neocons at his side, the same neocons who've been around since pre-9/11, just launching even bigger budgets every year, including for his 2020 campaign. He now supports slashing everything except for military, of course, growing his military budget to around $750 billion. Despite all that, Trump does not care about the military. And I say this with a couple of news items in mind. Most recently, we have the news that Trump signed an executive order to cancel reports on civilians killed by U.S. drone strikes. Now, it's already been notoriously difficult to know what's going on in the news regarding drone strikes because there's only a couple of organizations, a couple international organizations who keep track of these numbers, and they're not regularly released by the U.S. Also, anytime the U.S. has provided statistics, the difficulty there is that they call all military-age men as militants. They label militants, anybody who's military age, so say 18 and up, who dies in a conflict area, they just name them militant. So it's difficult to get not only the amount of people who are killed as civilians, but the amount of people who are killed as a result of drone strikes. Well, it's going to become even more difficult thanks to this executive order that Trump just signed less than a week ago, last Wednesday to be exact. He rescinded a rule requiring U.S. intelligence officials to publicly disclose the number of civilians killed by drone strikes. Shameful, indefensible, dangerous, tweeted Elizabeth Beavers, Associate Policy Director with progressive advocacy group Indivisible. Time for Congress to step in. I mean, what are they going to do? They're not going to do anything. Trump used this executive order to scrap a 3-year-old rule which instructed the Director of National Intelligence to produce an annual report on all civilians killed by U.S. drone strikes outside of official war zones. And so it's a 3-year-old rule, and now Trump is getting rid of it. He says the rule has been canceled. Critics fear that Trump administration will be able to continue to expand the use of drone strikes overseas with even less oversight. And previous numbers since Trump's came into office have shown that his record on drones is, worse than Obama's. And Obama was, if you guys remember, the drone king who really got that whole program started and used it internationally without courts or any sort of oversight. So this is probably being done to hide, that Trump is killing plenty of people, innocents as well as maybe actual targets. Whether they deserve it or not is debatable. But that Trump has been killing more and more people using drone strikes. So that's one reason, that he doesn't care about the military, because if he actually cared about the military, he would just end the wars. He wouldn't find ways to cover up civilian deaths. And I know some people might say, yes, but with drones, we don't actually have to send soldiers on the ground, boots on the ground. That's just people playing a video game from, Utah or from wherever in a little musky office building dropping bombs. But that affects those people as well. And I've interviewed past drone pilots before, and they've talked about having PTSD as the result of their experiences as well. Another reason why Trump doesn't care about the military, he recently signed this executive order to prevent veteran suicides, which again, on the surface seems like, whoa, what do you mean he doesn't care about the U.S. military? He's actually addressing the fact that some studies have said that an average of 20 to 21 veterans die every day from suicide. This statistic's been touted for several years, and many of us have been talking about it, and that's why years ago when Ron Paul was running 2008 and 2012, he was one of the only people talking about ending the wars, and he had huge support from the military because they don't want to be involved in these conflicts. The people keep being propagandized into supporting the conflicts, and some of the soldiers are as well, but most soldiers, once they get involved, seem to become aware that this is all just a game. This is just wars being fought for the corporate oligarchy that is a part of and controls the government, basically these corrupted people. So Trump claims that he's going to be making veterans' mental health a priority. This was after last week he signed the president's roadmap to empower veterans and end a national tragedy of suicide, or PREVENT. And he did this at the White House last week, creating a task force led by Veterans Air Force Secretary Robert Wilkie to bring down the suicide rate of veterans through a collaboration between federal agencies and private sector partners. It would also grant community outreach programs. And so they're going to do some more bureaucratic solutions, right? Let's create a council. Let's create a task force. Let's spend some taxpayer dollars, which was extorted from them illegally in the first place, immorally. Rather than let's talk about actually ending these wars, which Trump is, of course, increased, talking about wanting to go further into and get rid of Assad, threatening, Iran, being a part of this coup in Venezuela, and continuing the same programs in Iraq and Afghanistan. So rather than actually preventing veteran suicides by simply not sending them into wars where they don't have to come back with their heads all screwed up and feeling the need to kill themselves, rather than doing that, rather than actually just ending the drone strikes as part of these illegal wars. And again, the drone strikes are illegal too, because imagine if some other nation, say China or Russia, had the balls to just say that there was a terrorist hiding in the United States and they found them and they just bombed them while they were on vacation and they accidentally killed some other people. But, well, too bad. People would just flip out. And rightfully so, because that's insane to think that. But the United States now believes, the United States governments and the insane people behind this government and most of the governments of the world believe that they know what's best for all of us and that their wars matter more than anything. So if Trump gave a damn about the military, gave a damn about you soldiers out there, former soldiers, current soldiers, thinking of being soldiers, then why would he surround himself by the same neocons like John Bolton, the same people who sold us into the Iraq War, who lied about 9/11, the same people who continue to lie and push for more conflict around the world, push for more surveillance, more death, more drone bombing, more control, more stolen money for war? You have to ask yourself that. This is Derrick Broze of the Conscious Resistance Network, reminding you that Donald Trump and none of these people care about the military or care about you in general. It's only up to you, the free, powerful, beautiful human being out there who's hearing my voice, to do something. It's only up to us to do something. If we choose to take action in our lives and find ways to stop feeding this war machine, and by that I mean stop paying the income tax when and wherever possible, because that's what goes towards funding these wars, these illegal wars. Stop funding them. Get out on the streets, make your voices heard, but also take their power source away. Stop supporting the banks who are working with the military industry, the quote-unquote defense industry, the people who make the weapons of war. Stop working with the banks who fund them and partner with them in these wars. Do the research and find out which companies are involved and stop giving them your money. Stop giving the U.S. government your money. Stop supporting war. Stop supporting government terrorism. And start waking people up to this, because otherwise, more than any of the other issues that we've talked about, more than likely, the war, which is not only damaging to the environment, damaging to the human psyche, damaging to future generations of people by creating false conflicts of terrorism and us versus them, damaging to the planet itself, and damaging to our spiritual health. This is the issue that is connected to so many other issues. But as long as these people continue to wage wars around the world and take control and use us all like chess pieces, then we are not going to get out of this game. And it's up to us to wake up to that. So remember that. Until next time, remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.